and this is America's Mayor Live on Holy Thursday night, 2026. And behind me could be the most sacred part of the world, most sacred area on the globe. That's the center of Jerusalem. And in that complex there is, in chronological order, you have the location of the first two temples of the Israeli people, which go back to 3,000 years. First one, the second one, which is the one that was in existence at the time of Jesus, was destroyed in 70 something AD by the Romans, never been rebuilt. And but it is the place that the Jewish people refer to at the end of the Seder. The last words of the Seder is each one of the people at the Seder greet themselves and say, "Next year in Jerusalem." They've only been saying that for about 1,600 years. And people wonder what's their connection to Jerusalem. It predates Muhammad by 1,000 years. It predates us by 600-700 years. So yeah, they got a pretty damn good claim on Jerusalem. Much stronger than the Palestinians, who really never existed until Yasser Arafat. A place called Palestine existed, but the people who lived there were Egyptians and Jordanians and Syrians. And Palestinian was a nationality he created. If you want to read his book, I can see the footnote when I was prosecuting him. You might also like to know that he was responsible for the murder of 27 of your brothers and sisters, Americans. He had the blood of Americans on his hands, which is why I was outraged every time Clinton would embrace him. And that's why I threw him out of the UN concert. So, with that background, where are we with the war? The president still insists that they're negotiating and that he thinks we're going to reach an agreement. They have made it clear today that they're going to maintain control over the Strait of Hormuz. The president made clear last night that this can't end. This war cannot end until they are dislodged from the Strait of Hormuz, as well as a number of other things. Their ability to enrich uranium has to be completely neutralized, which is going to be very hard to do without some kind of a ground action. I can see how it could be limited, so you avoid what is the president's nightmare, which is the idea of some kind of long-term war. And I think that's the reason we have those paratroopers from the 182nd Airborne. Do not be misled by the word paratroopers, 182nd Airborne. Add the word special forces to it, and you'll get an idea of who they are. They are specially trained for extrication. Their job is to do it like the SEALs will do it by land or sea, right? They do it from the air. So if you want, the SEALs can do that too, but this is their specialty. And so when I heard that they've been deployed there and they're there now, it said to me, there's something they need to do on the ground that they can't do by air. So those are two possibilities, right? One is to occupy the island, the Charge Island. But the Marines can do that with an amphibious landing, which they're special forces for amphibious landings. If we were as successful as we say, and there's no reason to believe we weren't, we've gotten rid of almost all of the military weapons or anything like that on the island that was bombed for a day and a half. So if we're going to preserve the oil and do a blockade, it sounds to me like we have those Marines there to also do an occupation. This is all guessing. I mean, obviously the president is not revealing his strategy, and it has the press all upset. And they charge him with not knowing what he's doing. I listened to a man last night who knows exactly what he's doing. He's just not going to tell you, because to tell you is to tell the reign of terror. And he did say that they're nicer, but don't believe that. I don't believe that he means that. They've executed numerous people in the last, this new nice regime. They've been executing and shooting people in the street at the same rate that the old regime did. We brought to you the four people from the MEK that were killed. 2 more were taken yesterday. Have no idea where they are. And I could give you reports. And again, it's hard to get all of them, right? But I can give you reports from all over Iran that people were shot down in the streets, and that the level of murder coming from the IRGC and the militia is no different under this regime than it was under the last regime, and it doesn't seem like there's been any change. The same religious rules apply, the same rules against women, and most importantly, the killing is getting to be excessive now. And what they're starting to do now, before they were killing the people on the street, the people are now afraid, or many of them, not all, are afraid to go on the street. So they're killing the people in prison. And just in case you don't remember, the Evin prison was created by the Shah. So when they see the Shah, the Americans and European oil people say, oh yeah, that's great. His father sold out Iran. He'll probably do the same thing. But when the Iranian people see him, what they see is a guy who's never had a job in his life, a guy who's lived like one of the wealthiest people in the world off money stolen from them, because his father never had a job in his life either. He was an oppressive emperor. A guy whose father established the prison the Ayatollah is now using, and the Savak, which were the predecessors of the Guard. And you remember, was it last night that we had Masood on, Ted?
Yes.
Yeah. Masood, when Masood told you that he was a prisoner, I actually didn't realize that. When Masood had told me about being a prisoner, I assumed he was a prisoner under the Ayatollah, and he was tortured under the Ayatollah. He was tortured under the Shah. So why this ne'er-do-well is walking around inserting himself into this situation, I don't know. I have a strong suspicion it's some kind of a counter action that's being done by the regime. So the president did put a great deal of emphasis last night on, if it doesn't work, he's going to hit him back into the Stone Age. That put a big smile on Pete Hegseth's face. And he probably can't see sending all that there and not using it, right? And if you had a chance to cover and take a look at the argument yesterday in the Supreme Court, it was fascinating. I mean, the support for the fact that the phrase is not as obviously clear as it's been interpreted for so long is very, very strong, including 2 of the main senators who passed the bill, made it clear that subject to the jurisdiction did not include people that were here illegally. So that's what the president wants to exclude the birthright citizenship from. Parents who are here illegally, who have children. And you might even make it more specific and say people who are here on a temporary basis, because there are a lot of problems that birthright citizenship creates and has always created. But the one that now is created is flyby citizenship. So China does this as a investigatory or intelligence tactic. China will bring in many people to have their children in the United States. And some of it's in the continental United States, like in San Francisco and places that are sanctuary cities. But a lot of it are in the Pacific Islands that turn out to be American territories where if you are born there, you are a citizen. So they'll pay, they've paid upwards of $1 million, and he'll get them in. And the mother will stay there for 2 months, have the baby. As soon as she's healthy and ready to go, she grabs the baby, they go back to China. And the kid lives in China until they're ready to utilize him as a spy. Oh, maybe there are about 40 or 50,000 already in that category. Some people say 100. And it's a great intelligence tactic by the Red Chinese. And it's a way in which our stupidity, particularly the stupidity of the Democrat Party, has laid us open to the Red Chinese. Of course, they've laid us open completely. I mean, Biden gave away the base that was 400 miles from China. Now, if you're going to tell me that wasn't in exchange for the money he got from China, then I'm going to have to say you're very naive and not too smart. Ted, could we see if our guests are on? We have the pleasure tonight of having with us Joe DeGeneres and Vicky Tenzing, because I wanted to get their view. I don't want to bother them too much on Holy Thursday, but I just want to get their view on what happened, with Pam Bondi, right, and what they think is going to happen now, because they've got great instincts about the Justice Department. That's right. And they are on with us. There they are. Hello, my friends.
Hello, Rudy.
Hi, Rudy.
Holy Thursday. Happy Holy Thursday and happy Easter.
And the same to you.
And blessed Good Friday. A good time to talk to you. Boy, do you look good. You both look great. So I just want to keep you on briefly and ask you, what do you think with Pam Bondi? Surprised, not surprised? And who gets it?
Well, we were not surprised at all by her being fired. She really was a very, very unsophisticated, not ready for prime time attorney general. She never should have been named attorney general. Her performance in office, regrettably for President Trump, proved it. She is singularly responsible for the delay in investigations and indictments into the lawfare against Donald Trump that's being run out of the Florida U.S. Attorney's Office in Miami and Fort Pierce. She interfered in that investigation, imposed restrictions on it. One of them, for example, was me. I was asked by the U.S. Attorney in Miami to become the chief of the civil rights section in that office and run the investigation into lawfare. The night I was to be sworn in, after passing my background check, Pam Bondi canceled my appointment and said she didn't want someone with a name running the investigation. She is an incompetent. She is singularly responsible for the delay in those cases being brought. If she had not done that, we would have had indictments brought in the last 2 months. And she is responsible for it. And that, by the way, the president's conversation with her yesterday, coming back from the Supreme Court, was not pleasant. We are told by people who were briefed on it and by other meetings that she held that day that the president was ripping mad about the fact that there was no progress on the lawfare investigation in Miami. And she is the single person responsible for the screw up in Miami.
Now, what happened with Martin?
Well, what happened with Ed was...
did they fire him? They just fired him, didn't they?
No, what they did was...
they almost arrested him or something.
Yeah, they moved him around and, gave him a job and allowed him to sort of gracefully exit. I have no idea where Ed is now. They say he's still the pardon attorney, but I've been unable to communicate with him. I have no idea where he is.
I have too, and I used to talk to him, on and off, because he would have questions about what went on. Right. And last week or so, since I heard that he was ceremoniously thrown out of his office, I've been calling him to try to find out. So now, what do you think? What happens now? If Todd Blanche takes over, I assume you think there'll be no difference, right?
No, we don't really think that, Rudy.
No.
You think there'd be a difference?
Todd's good.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good. All right, because people tell me that they were together.
Yeah, you have to know. Pam has stifled people. She has sat on hey, Rudy, you should be interested in Round River. You know, you and I were targeted under Round River, which is classified. She sat on that declassification. I'm still waiting. I've got a FOIA case waiting for that to be declassified. And Pam didn't want to move on a whole thousands of documents. So she told people like Todd not to move on matters like that. She really hampered investigations and getting out facts. It was really terrible how she ran the department.
She was a queen bee, and she screwed the entire she screwed President Trump to a fare thee well.
Now, why did what was a motive? What is she?
No. She's dumb as a post. She is dumb as a post.
But Rudy, you know well that being state attorney general doesn't mean you know diddly squat about federal law. And she didn't know anything about federal law. In fact, I talked to a former U.S. attorney for Florida who said when we did investigations and she was AG, we never asked her anything because she didn't know squat about federal law. For example, she never should have indicted Comey in Virginia for a false statement, right? Look, one crime in a place where his relatives worked. Are you kidding?
Well, they also, I mean, that was a horrible thing because they then put who was the lawyer? They picked a lawyer and
Lindsay Halligan. Lindsay Halligan.
No help. They gave her no help.
Yeah, they actually abandoned Lindsay Halligan.
But that should have been part of a conspiracy.
They didn't send anybody from the. I mean, when that would happen in the Justice Department when we were there, and it was a district that didn't have the experience to handle the case, you get people from the Justice Department that would come in and help you.
You do. I used to do that when I was the head of the.
Well, nobody did.
But
you're on your own. You're on your own.
No,
you get hired. Get the indictment tomorrow. You're on your own.
Yeah,
no, but that should have been part of a conspiracy in Fort Pierce, Florida, which she did not have the sophistication to understand.
Yeah.
I never, as Attorney General, would have allowed the one count against Comey in Virginia. I would have saved it for the vast conspiracy.
You do the same thing
with
you do the same thing with Letitia James. You don't charge her in Virginia on mortgage fraud. You include her on a massive conspiracy count down in Miami with a bunch of people beginning in 2017, including Barack Obama, Joe Biden, John Brennan, James Clapper, and Susan Rice. Because remember, Susan Rice on Inauguration Day 2017 writes a memo to herself recounting a meeting that happened in early January where all of those people were in the Oval Office discussing a counterintelligence investigation against Donald Trump and you and everybody else. And Obama said, do it by the book, according to Susan Rice's memo. Right. Now, why in the name of God do you write that memo for the record? And the answer is she was trying to cover their ass. Instead, it's a confession. And if you're the Attorney General of the United States, you know what you say? Okay, everybody down in Florida, take this memo, start with this, put Obama in the grand jury, and let's have a fight over his testimony.
And word we got was that, oh no, we don't want to put Obama in. We don't want to subpoena.
She was frightened of her own shadow, but she wanted to control everything.
Well, will Todd be the choice?
No, I don't think so. The president likes him and wants him to be there as deputy. The president, unlike Pam Bondi, wants a name. And I think, Lee Zeldin may be okay, but he doesn't have any experience as a federal prosecutor.
That he doesn't. You're right. I actually thought he was an assistant U.S. attorney, but he wasn't. He was a local. He was a JAG officer. But the problem is they have to have somebody who knows the department code, 100%
is
willing to kill and fire people and order things.
You're right.
Done.
I have a candidate, Janine Perot.
Well, even we're going to come back to this, next week if you can. And
sure.
But the Justice Department uniquely needs someone who understands the ins and outs of the Justice Department. Yes. Otherwise, particularly the current Justice Department, even worse than when we were first there, will spin you around. You will not know where you're going. So good. I'm good to know that, and thank you very, very much. God bless you.
Delighted.
Have a great holiday.
We'll be in touch. Happy Easter. Buona Pasqua. Buona Pasqua.
Now, I don't know if you can make two people the attorney general. But they should put both of them in charge. It would be unbelievable, him and her.
I agree with that, and we didn't get a chance to bring it up. She has Michigan ties.
Oh, she has. He was the U.S. attorney. He was the U.S. attorney in the district, and she was an assistant attorney general. Joe is also the guy. When we brought the civil case against the Teamsters, he was appointed as the sort of the overseer of the Teamsters Union, and he spent a number of years. And the reason why the Teamsters Union, and to some extent even Las Vegas, is separated from the mob, is the work that he did.
Well, maybe they know where Jimmy Hoffa is buried.
I never asked him. If anybody knows, Joe would know where Jimmy Hoffa is buried. We're going to take a short break, and we're going to be back with a very, very special guest, a very exciting candidate that you're going to find out about. U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal. 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month,
Wow.
including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax,
Wow.
channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
Wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code RUDY. Act fast. These deals are selling out.
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because they like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster, and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee. U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. Good evening. This is Rudy Giuliani. We're back with America's Mayor Live, and we're back with a very exciting candidate, Anthony Constantino, who is the CEO of Stick and Mule and a person with a significant amount of business experience some political experience, and a perfect candidate for what he's running for, which is the 21st congressional district. Well, he'll tell you about it, and it's in New York, in the place that made the difference for us 4 years ago when we finally got the Congress back, and when we had a much better majority, which we're going to have again. So we have to hold this district. This was Lee Stefanik's district. Correct. So Anthony, so I guess the first question is, why are you running?
Well, before I even get into that, I want to say thank you, Mr. Mayor, for the incredible job you did in
thank you
New
very
York
much.
City. And also, you might not know this, but we actually met 8 years ago, just after President Trump won in 2016 in an elevator in Buenos Aires, Argentina, the Four Seasons. You walked in, but you were busy, so I didn't get to say thank you then. I really wanted to say thank you then for the incredible job you did helping President Trump win in 2016. And I get to say it now. So I just want to say thank you for helping President Trump win multiple times. And thanks for a great job in New York City.
Well, thank you, Anthony. So now tell me, first of all, why you're running, and then let us all know about this race, because this is one that we just have to win.
You know, I had no plan on getting into politics. I saw all the work President Trump was doing to fight for our country. I saw the work you were doing, the sacrifice that you were making for our country. And I felt like there wasn't enough people. I felt like people really thought that President Trump was going to do it all on his own. It was you and him and a few other people that were fighting, and the rest of us were staying quiet. So when he got shot, I finally just said I had enough. And I don't know if you know, but I immediately endorsed him. I sent out to my entire customer list 5 million people, a lot of them Democrats. It created a lot of turmoil for my company.
Mm-hmm.
Massive backlash, probably the biggest boycott I ever faced in my life. But I just said it.
Is that right? You got a boycott? Tell us what your company does.
Well, we're a massive printing company. We're the largest privately owned printing company probably in America on the internet printing company. Over 1,000 people. We're all over the world selling product, hundreds of millions of dollars in sales annually. And I've been a proud Trump supporter since 2016. I was actually one of the first people boycott in 2016 over a $500 donation to President Trump.
So I don't know. I shouldn't laugh.
Yeah,
I mean, it's happened to me too, but it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, that was crazy. That was crazy, but that was tens of thousands of people. When I did the endorsement, it was hundreds of thousands of Democrats. I lost 250,000 customers in a week endorsing the president. And I just said, we got to stop the madness. People got to get confident enough. People got to stop being scared to speak up and say they like them.
50,000.
250,000 customers in a week.
How'd you make up for it?
Working very hard.
And did you? Were you?
Well, the number one priority at the time, people said, "Why did you do this?" Yeah, we made up for it, but the number one priority at the time was getting Donald Trump reelected. I said, people said, "Why did you do this?" I said, "If he doesn't win and we get this other wacko or whatever she was,
you got it.
we're going to lose everything."
That was a nice description,
and it's not going to be worth it anymore. So I did the endorsement, and I thought about what else could I do, and I ended up putting up the Vote for Trump sign in Deep Blue, New York, and upstate New York, on top of my tallest factory building. That led the Democrats to try to arrest me. I don't know if you saw that story, but I put up this beautiful Vote for Trump sign.
The sign was illegal?
Well, they deemed it a public safety hazard. They didn't know what to do as soon as I put it up. So they went into panic mode, and they brought in illegal restraining order.
The First Amendment didn't have any impact on them.
They thought it didn't apply anymore because of the way they behaved in 2020. And they thought it didn't apply anymore. So they immediately brought an illegal restraining order against me. And I held a massive rally to light it up anyways with the restraining order facing me. And literally 30 minutes before I was about to light the sign, my lawyers got the restraining order vacated. So I have a lot of respect for great attorneys. It's hard to find attorneys as good as you are. And so I have a lot of respect.
But also they were lucky enough to get in front of a fair-minded judge.
They did an emergency session.
Yeah. What was that, the Northern District of New York?
It was in, the sign was in Amsterdam, New York. So
did it in state court?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they called for an emergency session, and I was actually being interviewed by Greg Kelly on Newsweek just before that, and he said, "So what are they gonna do? Fine you?" I said, "No, they're threatening to throw me in jail."
Oh, great!
And 20 minutes after my interview with Greg Kelly, the lawyer called me and he said they vacated it.
Well, so what city was that in?
Amsterdam, New York.
Okay, I know that's right up near the border, right?
Yeah, well, it's about 30 minutes away from Albany. It's right at the bottom of NY21 where I'm running.
Right. So you go all the way up from Albany to the border.
We go from Montgomery County and Fulton County all the way up to the northern border.
So that's quite a trek.
Yeah, but it's good for me because I run an international company. I got employees and customers all over the place, and I like large districts. I know how to manage people all over the place, and so it's a very big district, lots of constituents, but I manage millions of customers, and it's also great for me because it's a border district, and I think I'm sort of an expert on immigration. I speak Spanish perfectly, and I know the immigration situation very well.
Is that a big Republican district, or is it a close district, or how would you describe it?
Very big Republican district.
Right.
And, Elise Stefanik's done a great job there. She's one of the greatest Congress people in America for
She is.
a long time.
I agree with that. I have a tremendous respect for her.
Ironically, we went to high school together.
You did?
Yes, ironically. And so I didn't have plans to get into politics. She got in a little earlier than me. And, I'm excited to try to do my best to fill her shoes. I tell people whenever I do things, I want to do them really well. So I don't like to do anything halfway. And
I can see that.
I tried to be a great CEO, and I want to be a great congressperson too.
Now, so tell us the dynamics of it. You have to go through a primary on June 20th.
Yeah.
Is the primary. Is that the big, is that, I hate to say this because then sometimes you try to be wrong, but that's the big hurdle, isn't it?
In a way, but thus far it's been going well for me. I'm up by 27 points in the first poll, the primary poll. But I actually ran in the special election. There was originally a special election because Elise Stefanik was going to go to the UN, and a good friend of yours and mine, Roger Stone, encouraged me to run in that. And this is my favorite story in politics. In business, you like numbers. So in politics, there's no numbers. I said, Roger, you got me running around all over the place. Can we do a poll, please? I was only a politician for about a month. He said, can you wait 2 months? Because people don't know you yet. So
And how long did you have for the?
So in the special election, I only waited a month. I did my first poll, and Roger goes, well, if it comes out badly, I don't want you to get discouraged. I said, Roger, I just need to know where I stand because I'm used to seeing numbers. So I did a poll, and I won my very first poll by a point. And I got so excited. We ran another poll the very next week. And he goes, it's not going to move much. And it moved 1 more point. So I won the second poll by 2 points. And then I won another one by 9. And now I'm up by 27.
Well, that's good. That's good.
I'm pretty happy. And
that's good.
That was Elise Stefanik's pollster that did the last poll.
So you're of course you can't be comfortable. You're comfortable about pretty comfortable with the primary.
Well, I want a decisive victory to make a big statement and show the people, I'm an outsider, just like the president. And I got a sense for how important it is to get outsiders.
And what's going on the Democrat side?
They got a bunch of jokers. They got a bunch of jokers. One guy just dropped out, but they got a bunch of jokers.
Who is going to be that? Can you figure out who their candidate is going to be?
Yeah, is it good to say the name? It's a guy. They found a guy that's got a farm and a bunch of out-of-state.
Well, what's his background?
I think his background is that a bunch of out-of-state Democrats found him on a farm somewhere, and they said, "You look like a guy that could be a good candidate for us," and they gave him a bunch of money.
Good answer, right? Don't name the person.
And what's the big issue?
Well, the big issue for me is, I'm self-funding. I don't want to be controlled by anyone other than the voters. I'm self-funding my campaign entirely. I've had a lot of success in life. I've already put up $7.6 million. People are like, how did you put up that much money? Well, I put up 2.6 in the special, another 5 million for this election, and I have a tough battle against something President Trump calls the swamp because the political class doesn't always like new people coming in. That's what we need, specifically people like me. And I'm excited to try to. I think there's a good chance I end up self-funding my political career indefinitely. I have a very good situation.
And as to the general election, the Democrats will have to make a decision as to whether they want to heavily contest it, right?
I think the good thing about me, when I end up being the candidate, is they're not going to want to fight me because they're not going to want to fight me. They're going to see I did pretty well in the Republican primary. I'm trying to win the Republican primary as decisively as possible to scare the Democrats out of the district and make them realize it's just not worth the fight against me.
But what they believe is the change in the political climate. Is it possible that this is a district they think maybe they can flip?
If it's me, no. If it's one thing I learned, I think you're a fighter. President Trump's a fighter. Sometimes there's not enough fighters in politics, and
if
sadly,
they think they have a candidate, they can roll over.
Yeah, and I think I ran in the special election against 20 people. They all dropped out except for one. I don't think he's a particularly tough guy. He never endorsed the president. He's been a Republican, but he didn't even have the guts to endorse the president, which to me suggests he's not that strong. And I think they would probably go all in against him. He doesn't have any money either. Well, I don't think they're going to fight me. I think they'll go look for another target. That's an easier victory for them.
And since you're polling, what comes across as the biggest issue among the people? Is it the economy, like we think, or?
Well, in terms of why they like me, we actually asked them, and they want an outsider. People want an outsider more than anything. But in terms of issues affecting my district, I know how to fix issues. In business, you look for your biggest problems and you fix them first. The biggest issue in our district is you drive around and there's no cell service. Your phone doesn't work, believe it or not. We're in 2026 and there's no cell service in my district. You drive around, you drop phone calls like crazy, which I realize is bad for the economy because you can't conduct business when your phone doesn't work.
What's the reason for that?
Well, I do a lot of my business on my phone. I run a massive company and I do it all remotely now from my phone. I can operate almost my entire company from my phone. if your phone don't work, yeah, you can't run your company. Oh, why isn't it? We just don't have the cell towers. So we got to get federal funding to put up the cell towers. I'm already reaching out to Elon Musk, Starlink, to see if we can do something with them too, and maybe do something while I'm still a private citizen. But yeah, we need cell service, and we don't have great internet service either. So people think it's 2026 and the internet's rocking and the cell service is working everywhere, but it's still not working in my district.
Isn't that? No, I think this is the first time I've heard that as one of the main issues. That's terrible.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah,
You know, I have people that.
But it is one that you can focus on and probably in a pretty fast period of time solve.
Easy to fix, and it's a bipartisan issue. You know,
Yeah.
easy to fix. You know.
Wow. And what else?
Well, that I think we want the border to be secured forever, and more than anything, I just want to work on things that put more.
Are they still remembering the border? You get the feeling in the national situation, and in ways unfortunate, the president has done such a great job with the border that people are starting to take it for granted. It's like, well, they don't remember. They don't remember when we were basically having an invasion.
Well, hopefully we've won the immigration argument forever because of what President Trump did. And we never go back in the direction we did. Hopefully we won it forever because it was a ridiculous argument. But I'm here to make sure we keep winning that argument in case the Democrats ever try to make that argument again. I speak Spanish better than AOC does, so I'm happy to embarrass her in English or Spanish if she wants to pretend she cares about this issue. What people don't know about illegal immigration is it hurts the immigrants as much as it hurts the United States of America.
Of course it does.
It hurts them terribly. They get raped in large numbers when they try to come here illegally, and they get human traffic and everything else. I know this issue better than anyone, and I'm happy to talk about it.
Yeah, this is a group of immigrants that is very, very different than the immigrants of 10 and 20 years ago. Even the illegal immigrants are different.
Well, it depends on the group. Yeah, exactly.
It's a lot more. It's a lot. But what I mean by that is there's a much larger percentage of criminals among this group because the door was wide open.
Especially
when the door is closing, you got to sneak in. Criminals will come in, but you also deter a lot of them. But when I open the door, if I open this door all night, the burglar is going to say, well, let me go through his door rather than the next one because it's a lot easier. And that's what we did. And you multiply that by 20 million and we got a real problem.
Exactly.
And so, of course, we need somebody who understands it. How does your district feel about the president? Have they switched their views on it or are they still? Because there are people, and I think this is going to change as we get closer to the election. And there's nobody better at doing that than him. And he wants to win badly in 26. But right now, there seems to be, just from some of the elections that have taken place, that there's been a switch. Like here in Florida, we've had two Democrats elected in districts that he won, including the one right here. This district right here has a Democrat that was elected now, albeit by 2 points. It wasn't like a big win. And before Trump, this was a Democratic district. So this is not an old like yours. This is not an old Republican district. But still, you don't like to see that happen.
I think the problem is, I agree with the president. We've talked about this a lot. We have to do a better job of marketing his accomplishments and marketing the president and not letting the media take control of the narrative. So I think President Trump's done a great job. The problem is he's a great marketer. You're a great marketer. Some people in the Republican Party don't know how to stand by his side and market all his
isn't that amazing? I'm just saying that, Anthony.
And they let the media take over the narrative. So I've made every effort to not do that. I'll never leave the president's side. I think he's doing a great job. And we just got to get better at marketing his accomplishments. But tragically, I got involved in politics. Some politicians just aren't that tough.
Yeah, he has less. He never had a lot of surrogates like a President Reagan had, or Clinton, or Obama, or even Bush, right? But he had a lot more in his first term.
Yeah,
he had a lot more surrogates in his first term. This one, it's basically just him against the world, and he's great. He's terrific, but he doesn't have the time. Exactly. When he was running for office, he could do 3 rallies a week. Now he can do 1 a month, and he's running the country. And he is enormously transparent and available, and I think that helps. But we need more things like last night, where he laid out the reasons for the war. Probably should have done that at the very beginning. It was very compelling. And since he's been doing that for about a week now. His favorability has come back by about 6-7 points. So I think this is a question of just him handling it right and finding a couple of surrogates.
Yeah, we need more surrogates. And I don't want to be alone. I want to be a strong surrogate for him. I believe in him. I've believed in him since 2016. And I get frustrated on my own end when I don't see Republicans speaking up enough on behalf of the president, defending his great accomplishments. The most frustrating thing for me in politics and business, if I don't like him, you can just get rid of them in 2 seconds. In politics, you're stuck with these people forever. So I can imagine he goes through the same frustration.
Well,
with the
So what is it? What can people do to get you? We'll have you back on several times to see how you're doing,
Great.
because this is I can't think of anything more important right now than the 2026 elections, because it goes the wrong way, and there could be a lot of interference, him going forward.
Exactly.
I mean, I lived through the impeachment of his lawyer, and yeah, he can get things done whether there's an impeachment or not, but it's a lot better right now than it was then. So how can they help you?
Just go to Constantino.com. I'm the only person running. I don't want a single donation. I want to be in politics, hopefully, and definitely never asking for money. I think there's a good chance I can do it. All I want to do is put more money into the people's pockets.
So are you taking donations?
None. We don't want donations. It's all my money. I think I can be in politics.
You just want people to help you if they're in your district?
I'm in a great shape and I want them to go to my website, learn about me, support me, vote for me, get your friends to vote for me. And that's all I'm looking for.
Do you come and volunteer to help them.
That's it. Democrats got this word called affordability. I think it's a fake, made-up word. What you really want to do is put more money into people's pockets, and you do that by passing legislation that helps the economy. So I want to get in there, vote for everything possible to put more money into people's pockets. I never want to take a dollar from the citizens. And all you can do is support me, vote for me, get your friends to vote for me.
Well, Ted?
Well, Mayor,
you've run campaigns. You know.
And we'd like to think the president is a big fan of the show. We know he hasn't endorsed in this race yet, Anthony, but I guess the way we'll phrase this is, what is your message to the president on why he should get behind your campaign and what you would do as a member of Congress?
Hopefully the president can see, Mr. President, I put up the beautiful sign that you like. I wrote a beautiful endorsement, and I'm going to be the strongest person fighting for you because we happen to see the world very similarly. I've always seen the world very similarly to you. I built a great company just like you did, and I'm excited to get in there, fight for the country and fight for you, and to keep it going as long as possible. Keep the MAGA movement going for as long as possible.
And you're just what he wants. New people, prefers a business background, and very practical, common sense, right to the point. You communicate very much like he does, very, very, very directly. So let's see. But I'm glad you're doing well, and keep it up.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor.
Well, this is terrific. I'm very, very impressed. Well, we're going to take a short break, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll be back with a few other items to cover of things they're hiding from you. Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep green, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because they like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans. No Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster, and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee. U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. This is Rudy Giuliani back with America's Mayor Live. I'm sure, I was going to say I hope, but I'm sure you were as impressed with Anthony as I was. Gosh, if we could have about, how many? About 100, couple hundred Anthonys running right now, I wouldn't be getting an ulcer over this election. But I actually am not, and I am a little bit of a outsider here in terms of what the public opinion is, even among my Republican friends, I really think we're going to win this. I think we're going to win both houses. And I think the president has got this time just right. What we need to have this war. We got two more months to fight this war and get it over with. And I think it probably needs a month. Once it's over with in the right way, and it will be, we should have more oil than we know what to do with. And what happens when you have more oil than you know what to do with? The price goes down. Okay. And I think that the impact on the economy, including the tax reductions, doesn't start until next month, really. And I remember that from the first term. He got a really big boost out of the reduction in regulations in the first year that he didn't expect. But then it slowed a little, and he got his tax cut through. And then we had about a year and a half of the best economy America has had in like 40 or 50 years. And then, of course, COVID hit. So we're going to see the impact of both the tax cuts that were part of the big, beautiful bill. We're also going to see the impact, if we're not already beginning to see it, of the vast investment that was made in America when he first came in. Nothing like that has ever happened before. I mean, I have a hard time counting it up, Ted, but it was in the $7, $8, $10 billion range at least, right?
Right.
Different. I'm thinking of the first one, the Korean company. That original $500 billion investment is now about 1.5 trillion. And it has great national security implications because it's about the building of sophisticated, super unbelievably impossible to manufacture and only Korea can do it chips. Well, now they can do it in Arizona and three or four other locations that I think are top secret. And that investment alone was originally $500 billion, and now it is in excess of $500 billion. I don't know how much in excess, but if you put together what Taiwan has done, that alone is 1.5 trillion. Now it started at 500 billion, and that has been completely discounted. And even if the tariff revenue next year goes down a bit, this is multiples of the tariff revenue. Big multiples of the tariff revenue and permanent. So whole point of that is when we get to the election, we should be in far better mood than we're in right now. And the Democrats can only do so much to convince people that the economy is bad. And the only thing that's helping them right now is that in some areas prices have gone up. The net is a fairly manageable inflation rate, considerably less than under Biden. But there are certain items that have gone, like right now, gasoline, right? So when that all gets under control, things should be a lot better. We talked a bit last night, a teeny bit tonight, about Trump against Barber. That's the case that was argued yesterday in the Supreme Court. Let me explain to you what's at issue in that, just as simply as I can, because sometimes I listen to the lawyers. I was listening a little bit today to the lawyers who explain this on television, and they have a good job of making it impossible to understand. And that's why they're not arguing like Mr. Sauer and the lady from the ACLU in front of the Supreme Court. If you notice, if you listen to the argument at all, you would notice they try to simplify things, even for the most learned and judges in America. The art of being a good lawyer is to make things understandable and easy to follow, because then you're going to agree with it if that's the case. So you have two things at play here. You have a constitutional amendment called the 14th Amendment, and a law, the 1866 Civil Rights Law. And both of them have definitions of citizenship. Of course, the constitutional definition prevails over a law passed by Congress. And the constitutional definition has two parts to it. It says if a person is born in the United States and is subject to the jurisdiction of the United States, then they're a citizen. Now the question is, how far does that go? I'll tell you what it doesn't include. That does not include, let's say there was an invasion of the United States. And the English came back in the War of 1812 and they occupied New York, right? And during that occupation, the English soldiers had children with their English wives. They would not be citizens of the United States because they're not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. And I had wished that Sauer had made that argument clearer, because some of the justices have, in a simple-minded way, equated jurisdiction of the United States to criminal jurisdiction. Now, jurisdiction means many things beyond criminal or even civil jurisdiction. The question is, did they intend to mean something a lot more than that? Well, those soldiers and their children are, when they're in the United States, whether they like it or not, they're subject to the criminal jurisdiction of the United States. Whether the United States can capture them or not is another thing. But if the child of that soldier shot somebody or killed somebody, if we could arrest them, we have the right to do that. So that person is subject to the criminal jurisdiction of the United States. The argument they make is, if a Chinese guy comes over from China and stays here with his wife who's pregnant for 2 months, gets a little room, gets a big room, because a lot of them are multimillionaires who do this, or they use one of the islands that's an American territory. And about in the 7th month of the pregnancy, they come and they stay for 4 or 5 months. Now they have little Mocho-san. And Mocho-san is listed as an American citizen because although daddy is a Chinese and subject to the jurisdiction of Red China, and mommy's a Chinese subject to the jurisdiction of China, he was born in the United States. And they say that he was subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. All of them were. Because if any of them committed a crime, they could have been arrested. Now, the little baby 2 days old can't, but okay, that's the Democratic argument. Republican argument is that the word jurisdiction in the United States, the phrase, goes way beyond that. It has to do with whether you're sufficiently connected to the United States to be given citizenship just because you were born here. And since it doesn't apply to children of foreign adversaries, didn't apply to American Indians, because their territory at that point, although it was part of the United States, so they were born in the United States, it wasn't part of the jurisdiction of the United States because they pledged allegiance to an Indian nation. Daddy and mommy pledged allegiance to the Indian nation, not the little baby Indian, daddy and mommy. Well, if the daddy and mommy Chinese pledge allegiance to China, what's the difference with a Chinese baby? But they say, well, this has all been decided in the Wo Kim Ark case. Well, the Wo Kim Ark case involved a Chinese baby, born of 2 Chinese people, both of whom were Chinese citizens. However, they were here legally. They had all their papers. They were here legally. We had accepted them in the United States. They had accepted the United States. So when the court said that they fit under the statute, they were connected to the United States in a legal way. But 2 people who come in, or 1 person, if just a mom comes in, doesn't tell us, we have no idea she's here. She makes no connection with the United States except to go in a hospital and have a baby. And she's a citizen of Mexico or China. When that baby is born here, that baby, except for the criminal jurisdiction of the United States, is not in any way under the jurisdiction of the United States. Doesn't have to pay taxes here, there's no connection to the United States of America. And they could not possibly have meant to include those people. I think that's, and then I could go through a whole group of cases that support that. And that's why I think the president should win. Now, here's what is going to happen on the other side. 3 justices really don't care about what I just said. If you listen, and particularly Justice Jackson, I mean, it wouldn't matter what you said, they're going to vote against Trump. The 3 liberal justices. 3 justices have the argument and understand it and can explain it better than I can. And that's Thomas, of course, right? And Alito. I think the 2 of them, Alito in particular, seems to be the one on top of it. I would say he surely is going to write an opinion about this. And it seemed to me Gorsuch. So there you got 3 and 3, right? So who's left, Ted? Barrett is left. And the chief is left, right?
Chief Justice Roberts. You said Barrett and Roberts, right?
No, Alito, Thomas, and Gorsuch. Kavanaugh, Barrett, and Roberts. So it's 3 on our side, 3 on their side, and 3. We don't know what Kavanaugh, Roberts, and Barrett will do. 3 Republicans, 2 of whom were appointed by Trump.
Well, that was a very good breakdown, Mayor. And
so it's
and
I'm.
When do you expect this decision?
Well, I'm going to tell you the funny thing, and this would be great if you could just break in and go see their papers. They voted last night.
Okay.
When they left the argument, now they may not. Every once in a while they don't vote. But the practice is when you finish an argument, they only heard 1 yesterday. Most days they hear 2 or 3 arguments.
Right.
They don't usually give as much time. They give you 1 hour on most cases. A very strict half hour. A bell goes off and you sit down. And they have a preliminary vote before the day is out, so they don't. So they get a vote based on their immediate impression. It's subject to change. I don't know the percentages, but the percentages are pretty high that it changes.
Some more than others, probably.
Yeah, I mean, it could be that it would seem to me that the 3 Democrats are going to vote to overturn Trump's order, and I'd be shocked if Thomas, Alito, and Gorsuch don't vote to uphold it. It sounded like they got the argument, agreed with it, and were enthusiastic about it. So the 3 of them will vote 3-3. Now the question is, how persuaded one way or the other was Kavanaugh? How persuaded was Barrett? Now the Chief Justice might, as a matter of how he runs the court, he might hold his vote back.
Yeah,
he might not vote tomorrow. Yesterday. So
the institution itself and how it's.
So let's just say, to make it interesting, that Kavanaugh casts a preliminary vote for the president, and Barrett casts a preliminary vote against. Now it's 4-4. For signing a decision, the Chief Justice has to know who's going to win. Because if on a case like this, he's going to be in the majority, he almost has to write the opinion. If he's in the minority, he doesn't have to write the dissent. So he's going to, I think he's going to decide it. Will he commit himself this early? Maybe not. And therefore, since they're going to write dissenting opinions, he'll assign someone. And the other thing they do at the end of the conference is he assigns someone to write the opinion. Right. Now, they can go change it. They can complain about it. They can say, so let's say he's inclined to decide with the president.
Right.
Now it's going to be 5-4. He'll say, well, okay, I'm writing the decision for the majority. And Justice Jackson, I'm going to point you to write for the minority. Now, the minority can change that. The 4 of them can go vote and say, no, Chief, instead, we're going to have Barrett write it, and we're going to do concurring opinions. But in every case in the court, you have what they call the opinion of the court. That's the majority opinion. you can have with that concurring opinions. But the case that makes the law is the opinion of the court.
Yeah,
Whatever is in those concurring opinion is called dicta.
it matters.
It matters, but it doesn't control.
It's not primary.
It doesn't control a future decision. Like the Kim Jong-ark case, the Democrats are saying determines this case, and Republicans are saying it doesn't. The Democrats say it's controlling this case because it says these people were from China. They had a baby in the U.S. They were not citizens of the United States. And the fact that the little baby was born here and they were all subject to the criminal laws of the United States is the same as it is now. And therefore that case controls, and it's the controlling law. Republicans say, no. There's a distinction. They were here legally. And we want to apply it to people here illegally. And the Democrats say, well, that doesn't make any difference. The law doesn't say anything about legal or illegal. And the Republicans say, yeah, but it makes a difference as to whether you are under the jurisdiction of the United States.
And doesn't the legislative...
Because the jurisdiction of the United States goes beyond just criminal. It has to do with allegiance and domiciliary, because that's what the senators talked about.
Legislative intent.
So then they started arguing, various senators who supported the bill, and what they said. And the vast majority of them probably would have agreed with the Republicans, but a few were on the other side. So you got that.
Recorded as such.
And then what you have is the court has interpreted it this way without thinking for 100 and something years. And do you want to change that? That was the other argument they made. So they're going to have to work.
And that's where Roberts might buy that argument.
It's called stare decisis. That stare decisis means it's been the law for such a long time, we're reluctant to change it.
Isn't Roberts kind of thought of as someone who weighs that heavily?
No, I think please don't get angry, John, but I think what you weigh heavily is how you're viewed by the establishment, which is always a dangerous thing, or how the court is viewed by the establishment. Let me say that. I think he very much has sublimated his ego to the court, and he wants the court to be respected.
Right.
And he does a lot of conservative decisions, but if he has one of them that's very controversial, he'll sometimes be afraid to come out that way because he thinks the court will look too much like it's under the control of Trump. Now, they just recently have made a very big decision against him, the tariff decision. They really don't have to prove their independence. We do have an argument that we didn't emphasize yesterday, or I'm going to go back to the transcript. Maybe we did when I wasn't listening. The one I would have made very strongly is this question of whether we stick with the controlling law when there are good arguments to change it certainly becomes much stronger because we got an emergency now based on this. This is not like we're having an academic discussion about something that doesn't matter, 6 of one and a half dozen of the other.
Right.
We got a country that wants to go to war with us and control us that has set up about 100,000 make-believe citizens of the United States. I mean, we're being made suckers out of over this ridiculous interpretation that somebody can come here and become a tourist citizen.
Right.
I think that would have affected Roberts.
Right.
Because he's a patriot. And he'll probably think of it himself. They often do. But I would have felt, if I hadn't argued that, today I'd be saying to myself, it used to happen to me sometimes. Post argument, you think of something and you say, why don't I do that? So let me make sure we got everything covered now. So how much jeopardy do you think NATO is in?
I look there. If one thing, President Trump has done more to strengthen NATO than any president before. The media is constant smearing of him over that is insane. He's done more to encourage member countries to contribute what they agree, even increase their contributions in a lot of cases, right, to the entity. And as you said last night, he wasn't undermining NATO in any way. He was as you put it, simply asking some of the other members to participate in the global security of global trade, which is in everybody's interest. And the United States has carried the weight of that responsibility almost single-handedly for decades.
Well, I mean,
did I paraphrase you correctly there, Mayor? That was kind of,
you got two questions. Will he pull out so we don't have to contribute money to them anymore and try to start? I mean, I'd be tempted to try to start an alliance with Eastern Europe because Poland will fight with us. Hungary will fight. Viktor Orban would fight with us. The Czech Republic would fight with us. The Baltic states would fight with us.
right.
I mean, they're they are on their own building up their military power.
Finland.
I would. We might find it a little bit tricky to put an alliance like that together with Japan.
Japan's there with us. South Korea.
Yeah, but only because of China.
South Korea.
Well, we already have already have a mutual defense agreement with Japan. If China were to attack Japan, unlike Taiwan, we are obligated by treaty to defend them. We're even obligated if they are to be attacked in a nuclear way, we're obligated to use nuclear weapons. That's what led to Trump saying when he met with Abe the first time, this is kind of funny. You mean if you get attacked, I have to go to war for you? But if I get attacked, you don't have to go to war for me? And Abe said, not only I can't go to war for you. Yeah. It's against the law here in Japan. He said, well, you better change that effing law. And the prime minister,
The new one.
the new prime minister, the lady prime minister wants to change it. So she is a little bit being unfairly maligned with the cowardly countries of England, France, and Italy,
Right.
who are refusing to help us. Japan can't help us until the Constitution is changed. Her party was elected with a very big vote. I believe they want to change it because it also inhibits how militarily strong they can get. Believe me, I know it's a little island. They want to be stronger than China. And historically, for 2,000 years, whenever push came to shove, Japan would kick their ass. The Chinese are going crazy over the reinterest among the Japanese public in being a strong military power, and also saying you touch Taiwan. As far as we're concerned, that's in the Japanese. Taiwan is in the Japanese Sea, not the Chinese Sea. And this is happening because China is trying to take islands from Japan. Now, that's also the feeling, but they're not as strong as the Philippines. And if the Philippines could get, some backbone because of the Japanese, now you're starting to put an alliance together. United States, Taiwan, Japan, Philippines, Cambodia. Cambodia hates China. Work on Vietnam. They like Trump. They're the first ones to accommodate him on the tariff. They are selling us against the wishes of Japan, rare earth minerals.
Right.
There's only one of those countries I think we'd have a problem with that China has a close relationship with. I'll have to remember which one it is. But it's definitely not Vietnam, and it's definitely not Cambodia.
Right.
So why he doesn't get credit for the I told you he plays 10-card Monty.
Right.
Instead of hiding it under three. Instead of hiding under three glasses, right?
Right.
He hides it under 10.
Yeah.
So you don't know what the hell he's doing. Is he going to attack it? We're having great negotiations. With this wonderful new government there. But of course, if they don't agree with us, we're going to knock them back to the dark ages.
Right.
Yeah, they'll be hit so hard they won't even know what happened to them.
Right.
and then you don't know which one you're in. And I think one of the reasons, one of them said, and I thought it was funny, but I guess it isn't funny. One of them said, we're not negotiating because every time we're negotiating, he bombs us. The last two times that Iran got bombed, they were in negotiations that he described as very fruitful, and then boom.
It's
So
quite
I think
something.
I still think we're a little bit away. I still think he wants this to be. This is going to be very, very hard to do without casualties. Which what I'm saying to do, if he decides he's going to take the island and he's going to take out the uranium, particularly the second,
right.
because that you got to get into the interior of, you got to go into the interior of Iran to do that.
Right.
So you're going to have do an extraction right in the interior of the country, not too far from Tehran, where
Right.
they have most of their troops.
Right. That would take.
It really is a question of how many have we gotten rid of, and I don't know that we know exactly the number.
Right.
But I think he is convinced he before we finish, all the uranium has to be located and gone, and a path has to be created to go back and get it again if they ever put it there. And second, he's got to take them out in terms of any kind of electrical power, because that will destroy all of their modern instruments, and it'll take them years to rebuild it.
That's the goal, and we got to believe our intelligence in conjunction with Israel has at least a good idea where a lot of this material is currently.
So, Ted, do you know they have a machine now? As we finish, we always have to spend a little time now on baseball, the great American sport.
Your
You know
favorite
they
sport?
have a machine that calls balls and strikes now
Yes.
that
and
backs up the umpire,
There's been some controversy on that.
and you can go to the machine twice. You can go to the machine twice a game, unless you're right, in which case you don't lose your opportunity to do it. So if they call a strike on my batter and I say, oh, that was a ball, look at the machine, and they have to reverse it, I still have my 2. If I lose, I'm down to 1. So
Well, it's kind of funny. The Minnesota Twins manager, Derek Shelton, was ejected for
you're not allowed to
blowing a
argue.
gasket over the new, what they're calling the robot umpire. So it's like, who do
So
you
now-
yell at? Who does the umpire yell at in this situation? The classic.
Well,
So
yell
you
at the
gotta
umpire, yell at the poor umpire, I guess. Poor umpire. I never thought I'd say that. But think of, you know what they did? Every player had to go in and get measured.
I don't like it.
They had to get
ABS system.
they had to get measured for their strike zone. And
Not a
several of the shorter players were very angry because they lie about their height. And their true height has now been revealed. Like they could be 5'9" and they put in 6 feet.
Right.
The one
That's
guy
right.
you know for sure is Judge. He's actually,
He's
8
tall.
foot. He's actually 8
tall
foot.
guy.
He's actually 8'2", right? He's
Right.
8'2".
Right.
And but I want to get before I go, I want to get the exact numbers here.
Well, you work on that. We also want to make sure we give an update on Artemis 2. On day 2, the crew is officially headed to the moon after, and I'm going to sound smart here because I have no idea what this means.
Yeah.
The critical translunar injection burn. That was a critical phase.
Yeah, we showed that last night on the.
We showed
Too bad
that.
Grace is not here. She could describe it.
She's better than me.
Well, she
It is rocket
she
science.
sent. Remember, she sent several of her own rockets off to space
Right.
that we helped her do.
Right. Well, literal rocket science.
So now it's headed for the moon. That's about a 3-day trip, right?
Right.
And then when it gets there, it has to wait around for exactly the right weather. There's a period in which that will take place for exactly the right weather. And when the right weather occurs, it can then take off for the moon. And it's going to orbit what I guess would be officially described as the outer, not the orbit of the moon, but the outer orbit of the moon.
Right.
Now, let me see if I can get this right. This is going to be number 10. Here it is. All right. The U.S. is getting to keep documents of Mao Zedong, that were delivered to the United States by his personal secretary. And they're 80 years of notes of Mao Zedong. And they've been in a library at Stanford under litigation. The Chinese government wants them back. And the decision was made that they don't have to be returned. And we're not going to enforce the Beijing government. And it's his own personal notes. And so here's the personal notes of a guy who could win the award as the biggest murderer of his own people in the history of the world. He'd have to go with a couple of other Chinese dictators, Stalin, Hitler, and not the Ayatollah, because their country is just a little bit too small.
Right.
So this is the part that I find interesting. So the batter has to stand completely straight. He can't be bent over, the way batters are sometimes bent over when he's got to stand up perfectly straight.
Yep.
So this player, I don't know him. Jake Mangum plays for the Pirates. And I guess he's rather small. And Jake was very annoyed because he lists himself as 6 feet tall. It turns out he's more like, he looks like about 5'6". So he had to stand all the way. He had to stand all the way up. But here's the way they do it. So the strike zone would be established at 53 from the top down, 53.5% of a batter's, the top edge of the zone would be established at 53.5% of a batter's height, while the bottom would be 27%. And that's the strike zone. So they put everybody in the computer they go to you and me and they go,
Right.
It's from here to here, right?
Right.
This is it. So then the computer decides if the ball was in that. But every umpire has just giving the eye, every umpire has a slightly different strike zone.
Right.
Some will favor high pitches as strikes. Some will take it down and favor low pitches as strikes, even if it varies by this much, right? I was a catcher, so I'm very fascinated by this. And really, we used to then, and I think they do now, really want an umpire who was consistent. We wanted to know in the first inning, are you an upper? You call high strikes, you call low strikes, or do you do the best you can to stay right in between the letters and the belt?
Right.
And some of them are self-aware enough to know that they're high and low. Some don't really actually realize that they're doing that. But you as a catcher will get it. Here's what you don't want. You don't want an inconsistent umpire. He calls 3 up strikes and then he calls 1 a ball. And that's where this thing can help, because this thing is consistent. I haven't watched a game where they use this yet. Have you?
I have not. This is what we're seeing.
But they're using it right now.
Yep.
Okay, so we're going to have to watch one, and
Let's see if we'll watch this one here.
We'll put it on for them.
We'll see. This is.
Well, I could see them. There was hugging. So
here it is.
Oh, Basayo's going to challenge.
Yep. Well, why not?
We have not seen a challenge end a game yet. ABS powered by T-Mobile. Basayo for the win. Yes! The first ever ABS challenge to end a game here at Oriole Park. And it closes
that.
Like that?
Ball.
Oh, Basayo's going to challenge.
Yep. Well, why not?
We have not seen a challenge end a game yet. ABS powered by T-Mobile. Basayo for the win. Yes! The first ever ABS challenge to end a game.
okay, well, we're gonna. I'll tell you how that happened. If the machine is correct, the umpire called it based on the beautiful job the catcher did of framing it. The catcher took his glove back into the strike zone.
Right.
So when the how does it's not even a second, it's a tenth of a second between the time it hits the strike zone and the time it hits the glove. And very, very often good catchers know how to steal strikes.
Right. Wow.
I mean, I watch catchers sometimes who don't do that. And I think they should be fired and sent back to somewhere or other like hell.
I'm sure the traditionalists aren't thrilled with this new system. But on that note, a very busy Holy Thursday.
Okay, well, everyone, happy second night of Passover, and to all the fellow Christians. This is a very important night in our reliving of the passion of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And tonight was the night of the creation of the Eucharist, and it was the night in which he empowered his apostles to go out and preach and be priests and give the sacraments to everyone. And it's the night he was betrayed by Judas and turned over to the Roman soldiers. And it was the night he was scourged. And then we go into Good Friday tomorrow. So I hope you're following it, at least with some of your time, so that you can remind yourself of what's really important in life, you and your family. And teach your children about this. See, how many years now have the Jewish people had the Passover? 3,000? 3,000 years. And one Jewish family passes it on to the children. If you're not Jewish, you're Christian, you do the same thing. Great example from the religion we came from and should have great affection for. Well, pray for the people of Israel on that note. Pray for the people of Ukraine and pray for the people of Iran so they can have freedom. What they've gone through with the Shah and now with the Ayatollah is, and they could be as they were as the Persian Empire. They could be a great people, great friends of the United States. Look at what happened with Italy, Germany, and Japan, particularly Japan. They're one of our best friends. We were at war with them. Maybe your great uncle or your great grandfather died from the Japanese, or maybe theirs. Friendship is like this, better than England.
Right.
Pray for our president. He's doing remarkably well, but he can't do it without you, and he knows that. So pray for him and guide him, and God bless America. U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high... It's our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze. We are able